everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we're back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about the great Kurt Russell, without question one of the most versatile actors within all of Hollywood. He has no doubt one of the best filmographies, especially from the 1980s, and here we will go through his best movies throughout the impressive movie career. Now I'll do my best to avoid spoilers here when talking about these films mentioned, but you can check out the films listed within the description if you haven't seen all of the movies within this breakdown. So the first entry we're going to talk about is Big Trouble in Little China from 1985, the action fantasy adventure which was his third collaboration with revered director John Carpenter. And to be honest, this is really much more of a guilty pleasure, as we follow Russell's character, truck driver named Jack Burton, and his friends taking on several bandits, wizards, sorcerers, all within Chinatown. It's a whole crazy mix of comedy, slapstick, supernatural and martial arts. And can it get very silly at times and over the top? Yes it can. But it's still very fun and entertaining, and something that you don't really have to think too much about. You just simply watch and enjoy the madness of it all. It's a very typical Friday and Saturday night at the movies, a special nostalgia if you grew up in the 80s. And Kurt is absolutely great in the lead role here as Jack, very charming and likeable, a lot like the movie itself. We'll then move to the early 1990s and talk about Stargate, the science fiction adventure involving a huge metallic ring attuned to Egyptian mythology, which acts as a wormhole to other planets. Overall, it's a very brisk, exciting spectacle, certainly an early marker from director Ronald Emmerich and producer Dean Devlin, before they would go on to dominate cinemas further a couple of years later with Independence Day. And Russell plays his role very much straight and stoic, working alongside James Spade as scientist, as they're looking to save enslaved humans. The film's biggest legacy, of course, was the creation of Stargate SG-1 television series, which ran for 10 seasons and over 200 episodes. We'll then move on to one of Russell's more underappreciated efforts, and that is Breakdown, as we see Russell frantically searching for his wife who has been kidnapped by trucker J.C. Walsh. It's a superbly crafted thriller full of gritty tension that gives much more that sense of desolation and despair, and it's a really throwback to that old school style of action movie making, focusing much more on closed situations and mystery, and it's really gripping all the way through. And Russell's great in the lead role here, playing a much more vulnerable everyman full of rage and desperation and frustration. And despite its more spectacular climax feeling at odds with the rest of the story, it's still a great watch and definitely deserving of more reference and attention when looking back at Russell's career. We'll then swing back to the 1980s and what's gone on to become a film favourite for many fans, and that is Tango and Cash. Every bit the epitome of 1980s buddy cop action, as we see Russell alongside Sylvester Stallone, as the two competing cops having to work out their differences as they go up against Jack Palance's criminal kingpin. You can criticise some of the flaws here in terms of the script and the tone, but ultimately this is pure 80s escapism with fun, action, cheesy one-liners, and it's sheerly entertaining all the way through. And despite the flaws, the movie itself is completely driven by the chemistry between both Russell and Stallone, which is fantastic all the way. We then move on to a much more larger scale epic within Kurt Russell's films, and that is Backdraft. The spectacular action drama really centres on Kurt Russell's head fireman clashing with his younger brother William Baldwin, who, as well as aspiring to become a fireman, is also investigating a serial arsonist. We also discover secrets hidden within the fire department and also the media. And this is just one of those all-round populist blockbusters, full of action and drama, romance and soundtrack and emotion, with all of the searing effects from the intense fire sequences. And when you also add a powerhouse casting with the likes of Robert De Niro, Donald Sutherland, J.T. Walsh and Scott Glenn, you really have all of the added value here for just a great, entertaining movie. We'll then turn to another underrated entry within Russell's career, criminally so in my opinion, and this is Dark Blue. Set in the 1990s Los Angeles amidst the backdrop of the Rodney King incident, we see Russell playing Sergeant Eldon Perry, very much experienced and broken down and rogue in many ways, working alongside a more cleaner partner in Scotland Speedman, as they both track down two robbers of a convenience store, but really that outline barely scratches the surface, as we have a story uncovering police corruption, media manipulation, adultery and racial attitudes, and also personal introspection. It's an absolutely compelling and at times hard-hitting drama, and Russell is absolutely superb here in the lead role, proving how good he is at playing a much more conflicted protagonist, a character whose morals and action you question, but you still end up watching him all the way through the story. Backed up by a strong supporting cast, Russell remains the true standout here, and this is definitely one of the best performances within his career. And whenever you talk about Russell's career, there's one movie that you always have to mention, and that is of course Escape from New York. John Carpenter's dystopian science fiction adventure was his first collaboration with Russell, set in the back then futuristic 1997, where he takes on the role of ex-soldier and prisoner Snake Plissken, who's given 24 hours to rescue the American president who has crash-landed in the New York maximum security prison. A real callback to that lean, low-budget, more precise action filmmaking in what was really the near end of John Carpenter's peak era. It's dark and atmospheric with elements of that B-movie and cyberpunk aesthetic, and it's a real example of minimalism used for maximum impact. In what is Russell's undoubtedly most iconic role as Snake Plissken, we had one of those early established cult action heroes of the 1980s. And whilst it may have been a mistake to go ahead with the sequel Escape from LA, this movie still remains a firm favourite amongst 80s fans and also a great entry within Russell's career. We then move from one big favourite entry to an even greater one, and what a special movie it is, and this is of course Tombstone. Standing tall and proud as iconic Sheriff Lawman Wyatt Earp in 18th century Tombstone, Arizona, working alongside his brothers Morgan, Virgil and also gunslinger Doc Holliday, taking on the criminal cowboy gangs. Vivid, exciting, thrilling, this is every bit the mythical epic showing the historical heroes as true crusaders of justice, just like we got in many ways with The Untouchables. This movie has everything from performances, an exemplary cast, musical score, action and spectacle, including sequences where we have the standout OK Corral gunfight scene and also the river shootout in the second climatic half of the film. And yes, of course, Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday is memorable, but we shouldn't deny the stoic conviction and authority that Russell brings to the lead role as Wyatt Earp. It's a fantastic lead performance in a fantastic movie which is full of momentum, energy and impression, and definitely one of the greatest westerns ever. And so we come to at last then the number one overall best Kurt Russell movie, and it is of course John Carpenter's The Thing. A phenomenal science fiction horror masterpiece which sees Russell as a helicopter pilot alongside a group of scientists with a research station in Antarctica, all of a sudden coming under attack from a vicious alien threat who assimilates other organisms that it comes into contact with. The movie itself is an immersive experience of dread, terror and suspense that builds up steadily, but once we get to the survival part of the story, it's so compelling. And it still remains the biggest example of how practical effects, when utilised right, can be so much more impactful than CGI. Rob Bottin's revolutionary creatures effects work are still incredible now, putting many modern movies to absolute shame. So awesome and graphic, to which drives many of the sequences which are absolutely frightening to watch. This is just a masterclass of how to generate real fear and escalation, again highlighting Carpenter's ability to generate so many closed and claustrophobic moments, and also excitement on a much lower scale and budget. It's a truly exceptional movie that was initially derided on release, but has since then gone on to become appreciated as a true cult horror classic, and rightly so. And alongside some great direction and musical score from the great Ennio Morricone, The Thing ultimately remains the greatest entry within Kurt Russell's truly magnificent cinematic career. So here's my overall thoughts and feelings when looking back at the best movies within Kurt Russell's career. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you have any other movie suggestions or television series or animation that you'd like to see me review, or any other topics within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me talk about, then also let me know within the comments and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves and I will see you very, very soon.